Faylene. Faylene's the director of the digital marketing platform operations for Nvidia. Many of us know Nvidia, but for those who don't, Nvidia is a maker and seller of video cards, video equipment for computers. So Faylene will do a much better job of describing that. But welcome, Faylene, and I'm excited. We're going to hear some insights around platforms and stack architectures and how to bring that together. She goes, why don't we move ahead a slide? And Faylene, as I mentioned before, feel free to share a little more about your background and or
Sure.
your recent experience and whatever might be helpful for the participants here.
Sure. I'll just echo kind of what was mentioned before. I'm Director of Digital Marketing Platform Operations at Nvidia. And just to elaborate a little bit more about who is Nvidia. Yes, we're known as, big players in the gaming industry. But over the last 25 years, we really have expanded into other industries. So we're doing lots of great things when it comes to artificial intelligence, autonomous driving, and now we power some of the world's fastest computers. So we do a lot in our organization, and we're based here in Silicon Valley in California. So next slide, I'll jump into some best practices. Okay, so I wanted to share some of our personalization approaches on the web here at Nvidia. Our strategy, it's really about personalizing to help with targeted messages for new customers and existing customers. And it's about keeping our existing customers also informed and engaged about new solutions that we're offering. So that's really why we personalize and the reason why we have our marketing tech stack set up as such. When we think about our personalization, our KPIs are critical because our KPIs and why we have to do the personalization, it's tied to our revenue, it's tied to our acquisition and retention goals. So we actually do lots of personalization for our business units within Nvidia. And I actually work in our digital marketing organization, and we support our business units when it comes to marketing, campaigns, execution, strategy, et cetera. So now let me show you some of the technical flow, or let me go deeper into this diagram I have in front of you. It's really kind of the flow behind our personalization approach at Nvidia, and this is how we assign visitors to audience segments, which is critical. It's kind of step one before you even get to see a personalized message on our page. So you can see here we've got lots of different data sources, we have databases, and we actually look at a lot of different segments. So we look at industry segments, geography, company IP addresses. So Nvidia actually targets both B2B and B2C customers. So we have both business and consumer customers that we're constantly targeting and offering solutions for. So from all of those data sources, we actually do have a lot of marketing tools in our toolkit, and it makes up our marketing tech stack. It's very, very important for us to integrate all of these tools together to help us have this personalized experience. So we use content management system tools, CMS, and we use Adobe primarily for a lot of our tools. So we use Adobe Experience Manager that helps us with a lot of our web-specific personalization. We also have email. We also have webinars. So we have lots of different marketing tactics when it comes to the whole personalization flow. We also have our version of our site in English. We translate that into 30 different languages. So we have other versions of our site available to customers. So we have an Nvidia site in Chinese. We have an Nvidia site in Russia. So that capability also requires another marketing tool. So we have machine learning, global translation tools, and partners that we work with. So when customers go to that actual page, they're seeing a unique experience based upon the targeting that's behind that layer. Next slide. So the next example comes from AT&T. And I was at AT&T, and I was director of e-commerce and the digital experience organization for 6 years, and that's where I was prior to coming to Nvidia. So I wanted to just share an example of the chatbot technology that we implemented at AT&T. AT&T spent quite a bit of time analyzing actual customer behavior on our web experience before we even implemented a chatbot. And what we looked at was activity that customers had when they would go to our billing page, or they would start looking at their usage online, and if there were some overage charges. What customers were doing is they actually were going online, maybe going to pay a bill and look at what was happening, and then would turn around and call customer service. So our KPI and why we had to come up with a personalization strategy was all tied to reducing costs. And we wanted customers coming online specifically to stop calling customer service. So there had to be a way for us to inject a reason to help them online. So that's what we did with this chatbot. We actually implemented that on our billing pages or our usage pages, using a lot of that data before we implemented the bot to help us with the logic and the rules around prompting the customer. Are you having overage issues? Do you know about this feature? Do you need help troubleshooting? Those are some of the things that we leveraged when we implemented that chatbot at AT&T. Next slide. So when you think about web personalization, I think we're all here sharing examples and we make it look easy. But there are challenges still, I think, on a day-to-day basis of just how to get all this done successfully. One thing I want to just call out, and it kind of piggybacks on the GDPR, is data governance. You also have to make sure all the data coming in is accurate and what's going out. So that's really important, and have a process and team that's looking at that and making sure that's part of the process. The other point is organizational silos. If you have a sales organization that's not really aligned with the marketing organization, you could be targeting the same customer, which you don't want to do. So it's important that the organizations are aligned and that data is matching within the system so that what is the contact history? How many times has our sales force reached out to this customer, and then we're going to turn around and send them 5 emails and then show all this personalization on the site? It could be overkill. So that's really important to look at the organizational elements of it. And then the last piece is measurement of all these personalization approaches and techniques. Sometimes it's very challenging because you've got an email message that went out, but that email message was really based upon the webinar that they attended, or that could be based upon that customer or that visitor who went to the site and we retargeted them. So there's all these different things going on in this omni-channel world that makes it a little tricky when you look at measurement and effectiveness based upon which of those things really drove that customer to that action. I think that's all I had for today. Unless
really good. Can I ask a quick question, Faylene?
Sure.
Yeah, great. Thank you. To me, what's striking about the challenge at Nvidia is that you have a whole portfolio of products and you have a whole world full of varying customers and segments, product interests, etc. How do you think about that? How do you approach that so that you can tell whether you're putting the right product in front of somebody based on what their likely interests are?
Yeah, great question. So at NVIDIA, we actually have a separate enterprise marketing organization, and we have a separate consumer marketing organization. Both of those organizations partner with us. So I would say a lot of the heavy lifting is done by those business units, and they're looking at and dissecting which products make the most sense. So like a data center product might be applicable to the enterprise customer, and there's a whole list and approach around which enterprise customer already has this type of data center. And then the consumer aspect, you've got all the gaming experiences. So we just launched a gaming streaming service available to consumers that they can actually pay and subscribe to. So there's lots of different strategies behind if you want to upgrade a particular consumer from a free service to maybe paying the $9.99 fee. So those organizations really drive a lot of the why and who. Then they come to me and my group in the digital marketing organization, and we execute it. So that's kind of the partnership we have.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much, Faylene. Love it. And everybody participating, if you have more questions about what Faylene shared, please put them up in the chat. That's what it's for. And we can have an active dialogue there.